It's time for Lefties Losing It, and we've already brought you footage of a brave woman, Tish Hyman, who took a stand against male bodies in the women's change rooms at Gold's Gym. She had a membership terminated for speaking out, and now the man who was watching her naked in the locker room and probably dangling his doodle around, well, he's now getting a platform on TMZ. Watch these clowns pretend this dude is a woman.
One of the people that Tish says she confronted in the locker room, her name is Alexis Black, and she's joining us now. Alexis, welcome to TMZ Live.
Hi. It says female on my ID and hormones, and I mean, I'm registered as a female with the gym. So.
And were you at that moment, because she told us about a couple of different encounters, were you fully clothed at that moment?
Well, she has become aggressive with me on 4 different occasions, actually at different locations in Los Angeles at Gold's Gym. But fully clothed. I believe I was enrobed in a towel on one occasion.
Shame on you, TMZ, you weak, pitiful men. And a reminder, it was TMZ staff who were laughing and cheering when they heard Charlie Kirk died, and then they lied about it, about being some car chase that we're watching. Yeah, that got debunked pretty quick. Now, here is something that is going to set off lefties losing it everywhere. This is possibly the biggest sporting superstar in the world, and he's praising Donald Trump.
President Trump, a friend of mine, was given a CR7 shirt, and you wrote on it, "To President Donald J. Trump, playing for peace." What did you mean by that?
He's one of the guys that can change or help to change the world.
Cristiano Ronaldo is too big to be cancelled. Now let's hear from some dude in a dress, some dude in woman's face, getting irate and verbally attacking a woman dressed as a Native American for Halloween. Dude, mind your business.
She's dressed as a Native American.
Are you trans? Is that a costume or is that how you are? Huh?
Do I look trans?
A little bit.
You look trans.
But it's also Halloween. I look trans?
Why don't you just mind your own business? I'm not even talking to you. I don't give a fuck what you're talking.
You're offended? You're offended, but you're dressed up like a girl.
Gotta say, I love the look on her face, pure disdain, and good on those blokes who stood up for that woman, but our male Karen wasn't done yet.
Do girls have beards?
Well, when they take hormones and shit, they get them.
I will. I said what I had to say.
Yeah, you said it. Now you can do
She can talk for herself too, guys.
She clearly doesn't want to because you're fucking disrupting her diet.
Dude, worry about chewing with your mouth open instead of trying to police other people's Halloween outfits. Now to a woman who essentially lied for a living as White House press secretary every day, telling the world that Joe Biden was cognitively sound. Well, she's still pushing that lie. That's when she's not telling us that she's black and queer. And it seems Karine Jean-Pierre is none too pleased with people noticing how often she mentions that.
Pisses me off that people who have not walked in my shoes, who have no idea who really I am as a person, get to tell me how I get to identify myself. Jake? So it's like, shut up. I was like, you can't tell me how I get to identify myself. You can't tell me how I get to call myself. Like, screw you. Like, that's not okay.
Oh, Karine, no one is telling you how to describe yourself. We are just letting you know it's asinine and tiresome when you do this when answering just about any question.
Black woman, as a person who's also LGBTQ. As a black woman, I am a black woman, I am a queer woman, I am an immigrant. Being a black woman, as a black woman myself, that is the thing that I understood as a Black woman is that I meant a lot to people because of the communities that I represented. And whether it was women of color, Black women, queer community, LGBTQ community, immigrant, and as a Black woman, and I have my queerness too.
Now, we've featured many liars and gaslighters on this program, but once again, Jennifer Welch manages to outdo the most objectionable spreaders of misinformation and hate with this latest diatribe on President Trump, who apparently is suffering cognitive decline. This is the left's favourite tactic, accusing their opponents of what they're guilty of. Joe Biden was as sharp as a tack, but it's Donald Trump who has dementia.
We have an incompetent, dementia-ridden running the United States of America right now. He is so over his skis. It is so abundantly obvious. Shame on corporate media or any media that isn't covering this absolute mental decline, the likes of which the world has never seen. This person should not have nuclear weapons. He got lost in Japan while the Japanese prime minister was walking him in basically a square. He couldn't follow the instructions.
All they do is lie, and it gets better. She then claims that the man who has brokered 8 peace deals in his second term doesn't understand foreign policy.
And because he absolutely does not understand foreign policy, he ends up sending out on his social media platform.
And Jennifer Welch was celebrating Zohran Mamdani's big win overnight, but she was upset there were so many white people at the victory party, seriously. And she also had this to say. She said, Americans have no culture.
Americans have no culture except for multicultural. Well said. And we need to teach people how to embrace that. These crusty white people need to learn how to embrace it.
You know, I've been writing for years about the unholy alliance between the left and Islamists. And sadly for Jennifer, she's too dumb to realise how that will end. Let's have a look at some objectionable lefties, Mehdi Hassan Piker, Mahmoud Khalil and Jamal Bowman, regulars on this segment, hugging and carrying on. Sadly for Jennifer, she wasn't invited to this.
We got Mahmoud Khalil here. Mahmoud Khalil here. And he voted 5 times. Jamal Bowman. He voted illegally 5 times.
And Zohran Mamdani was eager to lean into the racial politics during his victory speech. Listen to him just recounting racial stereotypes here.
I speak of Yemeni bodega owners and Mexican abuelas, Senegalese taxi drivers and Uzbek nurses, Trinidadian line cooks and Ethiopian aunties. Yes, aunties.
And Zohran Mamdani proved to us all that he's not some dangerous commie by starting his victory speech by quoting a commie. Yes, New York, you suicidally stupid lunatics, what have you done?
The sun may have set over our city this evening, but as Eugene Debs once said, I can see the dawn of a better day for humanity. For as long as we can remember, the working people of New York have been told by the wealthy and the well-connected that power does not belong in their hands.
The wealthy and the well-connected, they're the ones that were backing you, including billionaire George Soros and his failed son, Alex. Talk about unearned privilege and power. Now let's hear from some New Yorkers on why they backed Mamdani. Get ready to be regaled by keen intellects and deep knowledge of politics.
Do you support Zohran?
Yeah, he seems cool.
What makes him ready to be New York's mayor?
He sounds like he's like a Power Rangers character, so.
I mean, is anybody really ever ready to be mayor?
What makes Mamdani qualified to be mayor?
I don't
think at this point it's necessarily a question of who's qualified.
Obama had very little experience and Obama did very well.
He's just a really likable guy.
What makes him ready to be mayor?
I don't know.
Why is he ready? I feel like he's like answering.
It never really takes like the most experience.
I don't know what it takes to be a mayor, so how can I really say if somebody else is qualified?
Yeah, Spanish.
Mamdani?
Yeah.
He's been a rapper. He's about to run a $115 million budget tomorrow.
Really, New York, you're almost beyond parody. And talking about parody, how good are these guys?
Hey folks, we are Xander and Fee, and we are looking for a seed oil-free roommate to share in our gender-expansive abode in Oakland. Xander is an intuitive fermentation coach, and I am an ancestral fire maker. Xander is gluten-free, so we do not have Wi-Fi in the home. You must be comfortable with guests, as our dwelling is a soft landing pad for decolonial healers and neurospicy artists of all ethnicities. No pets, please, as we already have 6 cats, 4 of whom pee freely. The ideal roommate is unbound by capitalist temporality, as our tantric howling practice keeps us up late into the night, especially during high tide. We will be holding a silent open house this Sunday from 3 to 5. Due to Xander's sensitivities, we ask that you show up fasted and fragrance-free. Many blessings. Just kidding.
Now let's go to CNN and watch the host here allow Zohran Mamdani to lie without challenge, to muddy the waters about money for the White House ballroom, which is not taxpayer funded, and money for food stamps, which is.
Clearly see that Donald Trump is threatened by our campaign. He's threatened by it because, like his, we've diagnosed the crisis in working class New Yorkers' lives, the cost of living. But unlike him, we're actually going to deliver on that. And that is a contrast that he can't bear to see. Because while he is spending $300 million remodeling a White House ballroom, the same amount of money that could provide SNAP benefits for 100,000 New Yorkers, he's trying to make it harder for Americans across the country to actually afford groceries. And this money that we're talking about, it's money that New York City is owed. It's not Donald Trump's to decide which city or state will get what money. This is the money that New Yorkers are owed, and this is the money that we're going to fight for.
Zohran thinks Donald Trump is scared of him. Just look how terrified the president is. This is him at the American Business Forum in Miami earlier today. Terrified, clearly terrified. Joining me now is political advisor and commentator CJ Pearson. CJ, I want to hear from you about what the Trump administration will do to help persecuted Christians in Nigeria. But let's start with Mamdani, and the president had this to say about a communist taking over New York City.
But the communists, Marxists, socialists and globalists had their chance and they delivered nothing but disaster. And now let's see how a communist does in New York. We're going to see how that works out. And we'll help him. We'll help him. We want New York to be successful.
CJ, Donald Trump actually thinks politically this is a win for Republicans. It might be a whole lot of pain for New Yorkers, though, but it will serve as a warning to other cities and states.
You know, you're exactly right, Rita. And sometimes the most important lessons learned are the hardest ones to learn. And I think that will be the case that New York City has to endure, unfortunately. But I'll tell you this, you know, what we do know historically is that everywhere that communism and socialism has been experimented with, it has failed. It has been a failed experiment. And so I think President Trump is right on in his prediction. I think the people of New York City will soon realize just what they bought and paid for here. But I got to tell you, as someone from the South, we don't want them to flee and come down south to escape their problems, especially if they're going to bring their politics with them.
Yeah, well, that's a good point, because we've already got governors like Governor Abbott in Texas very worried about this. But then other governors like DeSantis in Florida, they're rubbing their hands. They're lowering property taxes, pretty much eliminating them. and just making it even more attractive for New Yorkers to flee there.
Yeah, see, my thing about that is, here, if you're going to come, you're a New York Republican who wanted the, low electricity prices, the lower prices overall, but you're a card-carrying Republican, come on down, bring your politics with you, that's fine. My problem is with the people who voted for this nonsense, voted for this mess, are going to realize the consequences of their own actions and then want to flee and get out of town. Because here's the deal about these people. When the going gets tough, these people get going. And where do they get going? To red states. But the problem with them is they bring their politics with them. You don't get to be a political refugee and get to turn the place that you're fleeing to into the place that you fled from.
Now, CJ, we saw almost immediately with Mamdani after he won a switch from that lovable, affable, always smiling, all-inclusive, tolerant, friendly commie to a hardline hectoring commie. The mask slipped almost immediately. Even the lefties on CNN noticed that. And Mamdani started his victory speech by quoting a communist, or a socialist if you want to be generous. And this next statement has plenty of people worried.
We will prove that there is no problem too large for government to solve and no concern too small for it to care about.
CJ, what can you say about that? Conservatives did try to warn these dim-witted New Yorkers that were dazzled by promises of free stuff.
We did try to warn them, but again, this is a lesson that is going to have to be learned by the people of New York City, and it's going to be a hard one to learn. It's going to be a painful one to learn, but it's going to be an important one for them to learn. And so I think a lot of people after this election, I hope they learn the definition of what socialism actually is. I hope they learn the history of socialism all throughout the world, because I think if they had known that, the schools had taught that, we wouldn't be where we are right now in the city of New York.
Now, yesterday was a poor day for the Republicans. They lost not only New York City, but they lost in New Jersey, they lost in Virginia, and they lost with really decent margins. I guess New York City you can't count because there wasn't even a Republican option there. What do you see as the main reason behind these poor results?
Well, I'll say these states are Democrat states. Virginia hasn't had a Republican win, the presidential contest there since 2004. You look at, the state of New Jersey, also a similarly very blue state. I think blue states vote for like blue states. I think there was momentum at certain junctures of the race, but you can't really go against those political headwinds, much, right? And so I think that at the end of the day, I think this is a call to action for Republicans to not rest on our laurels as we approach the midterms, which are going to be a lot more favorable to us. And especially as I think President Trump's economic agenda begins to take shape and take effect, where we're going to see the lowering of prices across the board. And I think the president's message will be simple. It's about affordability. It's about bringing the cost of living in America down so that everyone can afford the American dream. That's how we're going to ensure that we not only grow our majority in the Senate, but also do so in the House. And so I think that it's a wake-up call for Republicans, but I don't think we should read too much into it. Again, these are Democrat states that voted for Democrats. I'm not surprised at all.
Well, that is a good point. They are Democrat states, and young women are responsible for much of what we saw in Virginia, New Jersey, New York City. They overwhelmingly backed the leftist options, and women in general, CJ, backed people like Abigail Spanberger for governor of Virginia, while most men voted for the Republican woman, Winsome Earl Sears. And we saw in New York City, women and foreign-born voters really get behind Zohran Mamdani.
No, you're exactly right there, Rita. And what I would say to that is that I've oftentimes said that white liberal women will be the death of our republic if we don't get serious about, somehow changing their minds about a lot of these issues. And, what I'll tell you is that after the passing of Charlie Kirk, I saw someone point out the fact that we hope that Erica Kirk will be able to do for young women what Charlie Kirk was able to do with young men. And I think that, if she's able to do that, I think that's how we right this ship. That's how we turn the tide to ensure that we can save this country, because it truly is unsettling what we're seeing among that demographic. And it's not too late now, but it may be in a few more election cycles. So we've got to do the work to reach them where they are.
I got to say, I'm really concerned about how this goes as far as societal changes, because you've got young men increasingly leaning right. You've got young women leaning heavily left, so often radical left. How is that going to work? How are these people going to find lifelong partners and spouses when their values are so fundamentally different? Politics isn't everything, but we're talking about consequential issues here. Now, just quickly on Virginia, they did elect Democrat Abigail Spanberger, and she beat a Republican woman, Winsome Earl Sears. And what was really interesting here was Barack Obama campaigning for Abigail against a black woman after he told black men they were sexist for not backing Kamala. And incredibly, the NCAAP campaigned for that Democrat too. That's the National Association for the Advancement of Coloured People campaigning against a coloured woman.
Well, see, Rita, the thing about these people that it's important to understand is that they don't actually just like black people. They only like black people that they can control, right? And so Winsome Earl Sears was not someone that they could control, so they didn't like her. They could control Kamala Harris. They could control Michelle Obama. They could control many of those other folks that, toe their party line. But Winsome Sears was a independent thinker. She was a free thinker, and that scared them more than anything at all. And so they were willing to go against their own public statements from 2024, willing to go against their own public statements even today to support Abigail Spanberger, who is really not have a record that is worthy of any type of commendation at all. So again, these people are hypocrites. They expose themselves every single day. And I say this oftentimes, I think, when I'm with you, is that when someone shows who they are, believe them the first time. And the Democrats have shown us time and again who they are. And it's the most blatant and unapologetic hypocrites on the face of the earth.
Now, Donald Trump has reaffirmed his commitment to help persecuted Christians in Nigeria. He had this to say earlier today.
Christianity is facing an existential threat in Nigeria. Thousands and thousands of Christians are being killed. Radical Islamists are responsible for this mass slaughter. I am hereby making Nigeria a country of particular concern. That's a legal definition. When the Christians or any such group is slaughtered, like is happening in Nigeria, 3,100 versus 4,476 worldwide. What horrible numbers. Something has to be done. I am asking Congressman Riley Moore, together with Chairman Tom Cole and the House Appropriations Committee, to immediately look into this matter and to report back to me. And I mean, like, immediately. The United States cannot stand by while such atrocities are happening in Nigeria and numerous other countries. It's not only Nigeria, it's all over. We stand ready, willing, and able to save our great Christian population around the world. This is not going to happen. The killing of Christians is not going to happen.
The US will not stand by while such atrocities are happening in Nigeria. You mentioned other parts of Africa. What did you think of that statement from the president, CJ?
I think it's incredible to see, him highlight an issue that for a long time has been ignored by the mainstream media on both the left and the right, to be quite frank with you, right? And so I think that to see him standing up for Christians all around the world, we are a nation that is one nation under God. I think this is a testament to that. There is no reason that you should be, a subject of genocide simply because of your Christian faith in any corner of the world. And I think many people in this country stand with our president in his pursuit of ensuring that people are able to freely express their faith, whatever that may be.
Now, CJ, The Guardian appears to be upset that Donald Trump has threatened Nigeria with a military strike for this persecution, for the slaughter of Christians. The Guardian claims the US president's remarks about alleged persecution of Christians is seemingly in response to pressure from his evangelical base. I mean, I would have thought it was over the slaughter of innocent Christians, including women and children.
I would have thought so too, and I guarantee you if his statements had been about Muslims, they would have had no problem with that.
Well said, CJ Pearson. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
Good to see you.
Welcome back. Joining me now, celebrity and royal commentator Kinsey Schofield. Kinsey, let's start with royal author Robert Jobson, who's penned a bombshell new book featuring fresh revelations about a party then Prince Andrew hosted at the royal family's Sandringham estate for Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. According to a palace source, staff were horrified to discover the bathrooms were stocked not only with toiletries but lubricant, condoms and poppers, drugs intended to enhance sexual experience. Kinsey, the guy was out of control. This sounds like a P. Diddy party.
Yeah, and while these types of stories are humiliating, it does seem like here in the States, Andrew has bigger concerns. Pressure's mounting for him to testify before a key U.S. congressional committee. Members of the House Oversight Committee are urging him to disclose any information he may have about Jeffrey Epstein's activities. One Democratic rep told BBC's Newsnight that he wants Andrew to appear before Congress, even suggesting a subpoena might be necessary. That's going to be difficult to enforce with Andrew being abroad. But if Andrew travels to the United States, he would fall under congressional jurisdiction and could be compelled to testify. I think he'll avoid the United States like the plague, but I imagine that Fergie will be over here panhandling before we know it.
There's even conjecture now that he could flee the jurisdiction entirely, go to some country that doesn't have extradition treaties and get some protection there from any future action. And there's also been revelations or allegations that he was involved with wild sex parties in Thailand, Kinsey, perhaps involving ladyboys.
I have no reaction to that. I don't even know where to go with that one. I'm assuming that's an Andrew Loney story, and he's come out swinging lately with his Prince Andrew revelations, but all I can say is I hope that one's not true.
Now, soccer legend David Beckham is now a Sir. Yes, it's Sir David after he was knighted by King Charles. Here's what David Beckham, or should I say Sir David, had to say following the ceremony.
You know, to see His Majesty the King stood there and receiving me and, you know, being as elegant as he always is and charming as he always is. And, you know, it was such a special moment.
Given that then, does that rise to the top of the mantelpiece at home above the Premier League titles and everything else?
I mean, yeah, it's nice to have 6 Premier League titles and obviously a few other medals along the way, but this without doubt will be pride of place.
Kinsey, he said it's better than Premier League titles. That's pretty high praise.
Okay, so this is super fun to see. David recently became an ambassador for the King, Sir David, for the King's Foundation, queued for 11 hours to pay respects to the late Queen. He's dreamt of this his entire life. But do you remember last year, it was reported that this moment was impossible. According to The House of Beckham by Tom Bauer, years ago, David's team contrived an elaborate plan to boost his do-good image to secure a knighthood. He was ignored, was livid, and dismissed the possibility of a lesser role, being commander of the British Empire. He sent this embarrassing, foul-mouthed email, and it was leaked where, I can't even repeat it on TV. I know this is a family show. An expert said due to that tantrum, he would never see a knighthood, and here we are. So I guess the lesson is patience is a virtue, people.
Yeah, and remember, not too long ago, he and Victoria were buddy-buddy with Harry and Meghan, but then there was a bit of a falling out there, and I can only think that only improved his chances of being knighted. Now, talking about Meghan, she's making a shock return to Hollywood 8 years after she quit the industry. She's going to be starring alongside Lily Collins, Brie Larson and Jack Quaid in a new movie, Close Personal Friends. What else do we know about this role?
You know, Meghan Markle's latest on-set appearance feels to me like yet another example of her following Sarah Ferguson's post-royal career path. Both women have written children's books, hosted podcasts, appeared on reality TV, appeared on lifestyle shows, and collaborated with Oprah Winfrey. Meghan's decision to play herself in this movie even mirrors Fergie's cameo in Friends. I'd also say that the timing is striking, coming just as Page Six published a scathing piece claiming Hollywood has lost interest in the Sussexes, while insiders insist Meghan is simply testing the waters for a return to acting. I can't help but wonder if the movie leak was a calculated move to distract from the negative headlines coming out of Page Six.
Now, Kinsey, there are reports that Jennifer Garner is trying to push her and Ben Affleck's eldest daughter, Violet Affleck, into political stardom after her speech supporting the continuation of COVID-19 restrictions, including mandatory masks, went viral. I mean, it did go viral, but for all the wrong reasons. An insider told Radar Online they raised Violet to be a concerned and informed citizen first and a celebrity offspring second. And Violet's passionate, informed activism is a validation of that approach. I don't know, Kinsey, that young woman needs professional help, not a political platform.
I was just sitting here thinking, like, they raised her to be paranoid. I think that they're totally setting up this entitled Nepo baby for disappointment and failure. I mean, I know that Gavin Newsom is the worst, and we are the state that brought you Kamala Harris, but I would hope we would require more from our government officials than their parents being on movie posters. I think all parties involved are delusional if this story is true. I mean, because she just becomes a target. She just becomes a target by putting herself out there, especially when her demands are so unrealistic and polarizing.
Just insane. And that clip went viral because everyone was mocking it, and it was being mocked in fairly harsh fashion. I mean, she is over 18. She's fair game if she's going to speak at the UN. And the fact that she was given the honour of speaking at the UN, I think says plenty. And Nepo baby is the perfect description there. Now, Jennifer Lawrence has said that she's not going to be talking about politics anymore because celebrities do not make a difference whatsoever on who people vote for, and it just adds fuel to the fire, ripping the country apart. Kinsey, I think she's just reading the room. She was very outspoken during Trump's first term, but I think she understands that the country has moved on, the culture's shifting, and we don't want to hear from far-left celebrities preaching to us endlessly.
I know. I will see her new movie now. And I've avoided a lot of the stuff she's been in just because I thought she seemed really hostile and hateful towards 50% of the country through some of her past comments. I think that hopefully other people are watching this, the way that this plays out and the way that others are responding to this story and going, all right, well, that sounds like a good strategy that maybe I should follow too. I have no idea how Tom Cruise votes. I have absolutely no clue. And I love Tom Cruise for it. And I'll continue to see his movies. And I think that mystique in Hollywood is really important, and they need to get it back. And we know how she felt, but thankfully we're not going to know how she feels going forward. And that way I can get lost in her movies and enjoy the films.
You know what? They should conduct themselves, these Hollywood celebrities, like the late Queen, because she was above politics. No one knew how she voted. You may have had your suspicions about what she felt about particular issues, but she stayed out of it because she knew that wasn't her role. Now, before you go, George Clooney has hit out at Hunter Biden after the former first son blasted the actor over that New York Times op-ed, that infamous op-ed he wrote calling for Joe Biden to step down. Kinsey, this is the battle of the scrotes in my book. I don't like either of these characters.
Well, I felt like George Clooney's reaction was pretty classy and calculated. I mean, I doubt he got the questions beforehand, but, you know, he says, I wish him well. I don't want to dwell on this. I don't want this to go any further, but I hope he gets better, and something to the effect of, I hope he has an easy journey quietly referring to Hunter's drug abuse. So I felt like it was kind of still
So
a
you
kick in the
call
gut,
this,
despite taking.
you call that classy. You call that classy. I call that passive aggressive. That is having a red hot go whilst trying to seem kind and compassionate. I mean, and to me, that's more underhanded than what Hunter Biden did, which was just say what he felt. You know what? I think I prefer Hunter to George. Kinsey, it's always a pleasure. Thanks for your time.